Ending explained. Did Jeremiah kill Theo? We see Dwight, Cleo, and Mitch sitting down to talk with Theo about his distillery, estate, and legacy at the conclusion of Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 1. It's very clear that Jeremiah will leave Theo and his family nothing if he receives the rights to his company. Dwight will make sure that they both turn a profit from the company in the interim so that their families can look forward to a prosperous future. Having said that, Dwight and Mitch return home. While having his dinner, Dwight gets a call from Muso, who apparently knows that he has been in conversation with the Montags. Muso ends the call before Dwight can find out more about this source. Regarding Theo, Jeremiah personally pays him a visit to inquire about his willingness to uphold the agreement they had made. At this point, Theo discloses that he has decided to join with Dwight and remove Jeremiah from the situation since he received a greater offer than Jeremiah did. Jeremiah gives Cole and his men the command to murder Theo and set fire to his mansion without hesitation. This hostile takeover will not be warmly received. Dwight will react angrily to Theo's death since he is a sentimental guy. Dwight and Jeremiah are engaged in a rivalry. The one problem is that Dwight is wearing a collar around his neck, which is attached to a leash that Muso is holding. Therefore, it is unclear how much autonomy Muso gives Dwight. Muso will have to remove Muso from the situation if he puts too many restriction on Dwight because he won't be able to stop Jeremiah from causing a lot of harm. What will happen if he takes on a federal agent, and how would he do that? The next episodes of Tulsa King Season 3 will tell us everything there is to know about it. How do you feel about the show's debut episode? Tell me in the. What are the repercussions of being a federal agent? The next episodes of Tulsa King Season 3 will tell us everything there is to know about it. How do you feel about the show's debut episode? Tell me in the space provided for comments below. At the Montague estate, Dwight, Goody, Bigfoot, and Mitch go to a yard sale. Without wasting any time, Dwight asks Cole directly if her father is willing to work out a bargain. Theo and Jeremiah have an unofficial agreement that is founded on a common understanding, and Dwight wants to handle the business in a professional manner. It is quickly determined, though, that Theo is simply too afraid to sell his distillery to the highest bidder. When Dwight inquires as to the price that Theo has agreed upon, it appears like Jeremiah is effectively threatening Theo into parting with his cash cow. There is nothing Theo can say. It's not like Jeremiah is unaware of all of this happening right in front of him, by the way. No, in order to monitor any odd activity, he has placed his son, Cole, at the yard sale. Dwight pretends to have made the initial step to persuade Theo to change his mind when Mitch did Dwight meets Ray. After getting clean, Dwight goes to Margaret's farm to talk to her, explain why Special Agent Musso is pursuing him, and apologize for everything that happened. Furthermore, I believe that he ends their relationship because she doesn't want to be harmed in the resentment between him and Muso. He receives a call after leaving the property from someone named Ray who wants to meet with him right now. Ray threatens to hurt his grandchildren, so Dwight gives in and agrees to see Ray even though he warns him that now isn't the right moment. Goody leads his employer to the room where Ray is waiting for him, seemingly acting as a mediator between Ray and Dwight. Ray informs Dwight that he wants to deliver him what the Invernizes promised him when he was imprisoned for them after they had exchanged niceties. He desires to assist Dwight in creating his own criminal organization and claiming territory in New York. Dwight declines the offer since he is content in Tulsa. At that point, the subject of caring and sharing is raised. In essence, Ray wants Dwight to work in New York so that he may profit from his success since he is inspired by what Dwight has accomplished in Tulsa. Again and again, Dwight has demonstrated his willingness to work with others. Nevertheless, he becomes irritated if his arm is pulled to force him to share. After spending a significant portion of his life behind bars, he owes no one anything, and he has every right to choose which offers to take and which to turn down. Ray is clearly offended by Dwight's position, but before he can respond, Dwight leaves the room. Mitch has an offer for Dwight. Mitch, who appears to be doing a fantastic job managing Car City with Fred, meets up with Cleo Montague, an old acquaintance and fling of his who has long since moved back to Tulsa. As they catch up, Cleo tells him that because business hasn't been booming lately, her father, Theo, wants to sell the distillery. Jeremiah Dunmire is already his buyer. Based on the information provided, Jeremiah is another Tulsa-based thug, and it will not be long before he meets Dwight. The action now moves to Bread-To Saloon, where Dwight meets up with his entire crew. Margaret is also present, and she wants to carry on the discussion that Dwight interrupted abruptly earlier. This makes him clearly state that he believes things are going to turn ugly because of the FBI and Ray's participation. He wants Margaret to avoid this whole situation as much as possible since he doesn't want her to get harmed in the crossfire. However, Margaret is adamant about sticking with him no matter what, and it appears like Dwight has little choice but to accept her choice. After they finish talking, Mitch arrives, expressing his dissatisfaction with his work as a vehicle salesperson. Jeremiah eventually hears Mitch mention Cleo and the distillery her father is selling. Mitch obviously wants Dwight to purchase it so that he and Cleo can operate the company. Muso owns Dwight's freedom. Special Agent Musso welcomes Dwight and tells him that Margaret is doing well because that's the first thing Dwight worries about. Muso then discusses Dwight's murder of Ripple, which led to his 25-year prison sentence. The responsibility of burying Dwight and destroying the Invernizzi family fell to Ripple, Muso's informant. Muso obviously has resentment for Dwight, but more significantly, he is annoyed that Dwight hasn't changed his habits after serving a lengthy jail sentence. He was involved in a biker gang conflict shortly after relocating to Tulsa, and he went on to murder Chicky, Ming, and countless others. Additionally, because of his power, Dwight has transformed individuals who weren't precisely breaking the law, like Bodie, Tyson, Mitch, Grace, and Fred, into seasoned criminals. Dwight asks Muso to get to the point he has been attempting to convey since he is not in the mood to listen to his lecture. Muso complies, stating that Dwight provides assistance because there are some things that law enforcement authorities just cannot accomplish. If Dwight wants to keep himself, his friends, and his family out of jail, he will have to answer whenever Muso calls him and comply with all requests. Dwight is then dropped off at his house, and that concludes the matter for the time being. Yes, there is a lot of ambiguity in this circumstance. The parameters Dwight must operate under are not quite apparent. He'll just have to return to work, I suppose, to understand the difference between his employment as a mobster and his career as an FBI informant. Bigfoot is the first to die. Welcome Dwight back, and it appears that they have no clue where he has been. It's also unknown how long he has been absent from the scene. Dwight's beard and hair were cropped after he was apprehended at the conclusion of Season 2. And he had a salt and pepper style on. It appears from the beginning of Season 3 that he has been in Muso's care for a long enough period of time to be unable to maintain his appearance or color his hair and beard. Perhaps he has been gone for a year, or perhaps there is a continuity problem. In Tulsa King Season 2's conclusion, Dwight teamed up with Bill to defeat Chicky, who had been the source of his problems since the day he was released from a 25-year jail term. Dwight promised to give him half of his company's profits in return, ensuring that they would never again quarrel about who controlled which area of Tulsa. Then there was the odd case of Cal, who was always vacillating between wanting to work with Dwight and not wanting to. Only after Ming, his business partner, went too far with his violent tendencies did Cal decide it was time to resign and cut his losses. He just walked away after giving Dwight his marijuana business. However, just as things appeared to be going relatively well, the FBI stormed Margaret's home, took Dwight into custody, and placed him in a dark cell with the goal of